What's up, YouTube? This is Bison39, guys. Today I'm coming to my latest deck profile video for July 2021. And today, guys, we're going to be looking at my updated Sky Striker deck. Now, Sky Striker's pretty much considered the winner of the last ban list. We got Engage off the ban list and got it limited, which is actually pretty cool. A single copy of Engage still does a whole lot for this deck, especially with the way the deck functions. It's going to be easy to tutor out of the deck, recycle it, and just be able to get what you need into your hand for future plays. That being said, even though I'm happy to see Engage back on one, I still kind of wished TCG Konami waited maybe at least one more list before bringing it back. I really wish they gave us multi-role back instead of Engage, primarily because the deck proved it can win without Engage in it. And the real issue that the deck was having was it didn't really have its grind game up to full power. So this having at least 2 copies of multi-role would have been a lot better, just to give the deck its grind game option. And then when you bring Engage back to 1, yeah, it would have been just that much better of a deck. But that's just my opinion. It is what it is. This is TCG Konami's game, and we're just playing it. So we gotta deal with the cards they deal us. That being said, Sky Strikers are still an amazing road deck. Definitely something, if you haven't invested in, you should consider investing in. It is just that amazing of a deck, especially if you don't want to be bothered by memorizing long combo strings. This is a very awesome deck, built to out-resource your opponent, grind them down, and then you go in for the kill. With that being said, we are jumping right into this deck profile. Alright, let's start off with your summonable monsters. We got 3 copies of the Lady of the Deck, Sky Striker Ace Ray. She's the chief lady of the deck, and she puts in a whole lot of work. She's got a quick effect that allows you to trigger her off in order to special summon a Sky Striker Ace Link monster right from your extra deck to your extra monster zone, which is actually very awesome. This effect comes in very handy, especially when you want to bring out something that can interfere with your opponent's monster effects like Kana. That being said, if one of your Sky Striker Ace Link monsters are destroyed by battle or your opponent's card, or sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, she can special summon herself out from the graveyard to the field, and with her quick effect, you're able to basically link off into another Sky Striker Ace Link monster very easily. Next up, we got 2 copies of Sky Striker Ace Rose. Rose, just an amazing card in her own right. If you summon a Sky Striker Ace Link monster to your extra monster zone, guess what? You can actually special summon her from your hand. So, an additional body on the board can allow you to link climb a little bit easier, which is not a bad thing. When she's in the graveyard and your Sky Striker Ace Link monster is destroyed by battle or sent to the graveyard by your card effect, you can actually special summon her to the field, and she can actually target one of your opponent's monsters on the field and negate that monster's effect. So, an additional way to negate your opponent's monster effect is not a bad thing, and it's definitely worth it. Now, I know a lot of people are kind of like going between 1 and 2. I prefer 2 because you want to be seeing your starter cards more often than not. You don't want to be wasting maybe a top deck Engage search on a starter card. Definitely, in my opinion, that's not worth it, and you definitely want to see your monsters a little bit more often. One last summonable monster I'm main decking is Dinosaur Pancratops. Okay, Pancratops can be special summoned to your field if your opponent has more monsters than you do. And it has a quick effect where you can actually just target one of your opponent's cards on the field and destroy it. And this card comes in very handy, especially with the way the meta is shaping up. Dryden's being one of the top decks in this meta, and there is a ritual-based deck, and they're kind of spell-reliant. And because of that, a lot of floodgates that block spells, things like Imperial Order or even Anti-Spellgrave Fragrance, hurt this deck as much as they do Dryden's. You need to be needing ways to deal with those cards, and Pancratops is actually a monster effect way to actually deal with those cards. Alright, going into your hand traps, 3 copies of Ash because it's mandatory pretty much in every deck now. 2 copies of Veilers. I mean, we have plenty of other ways of negating monster effects, so I didn't really think 3 was necessary. And of course, we have 2 copies of Ghost Spell. Not to mention, I know some people might say, oh, you should be running 3. Sky Strikers also have a spell card that's actually searchable. They can mess with the opponent's graveyard, so that's the reason why I'm kind of just doing a 2 for her. And that's it for the monster lineup. Going into the spells, I'm going to cover the one of Sky Striker spells first. So first and foremost, I'm actually running 1 copy of Scissor Cross and 1 copy of Eagle Booster. Okay, Scissor Cross, when you activate it, it acts kind of like a Warrior Returning to Life, getting you one of your Sky Striker ace monsters, whether it be Ray or Rose, back into your hand very quickly. If you have 3 or more monsters in the graveyard, it acts as a Monster Reborn. And that's the primary reason why I kind of like this card over the original Monster Reborn, because this card is actually searchable. So you're able to tutor it out of the deck really fast and be able to bring back your monsters to actually be able to do things. Eagle Booster is just an awesome protection card. Make sure Sky Striker ace monsters unaffected by other card effects, and if you have 3 or more monsters in the graveyard, they can't be destroyed by battle. So, very good. We also have 1 copy of Horned Drones, 1 copy of Multi-Roll. Horned Drones is essentially your 6th starter card in the deck, allowing you to be able to summon a Sky Striker ace token and just be able to start your link plays. And Multi-Roll, well, Multi-Roll is what gives this game, the deck, its grind game, being able to recycle a lot of the Sky Striker spells cards back to your side of the field during an end phase. Not only that, but you can actually send a Sky Striker card that you control on your side of the field to the graveyard to basically make all your Sky Striker spells spell speed 4 for that turn, so your opponent can't really respond to them. Another awesome card. Like I said, I really wish this card was back at 2, but it is what it is. And then last but not least, Sky Striker, Mobilize, Engage, off the ban list to 1. And yeah, like I said in the intro, you can search out the entire archetype. You got 3 more spell cards in the graveyard, you're getting an additional draw on top of that search. So yes, even a single copy of Engage does a ton in this deck. And yeah, I'm kind of happy that we do have it back at 1. Going into the 3 ofs, only 1 card we get to play at 3 of, and that's going to be Sky Striker, Mecha Widow Anchor. This right here is your quick effect monster negate card. If you got 3 or more spell cards in the graveyard, you get the chance to steal your opponent's monster. And I can tell you right now, that can actually be very interesting if you want to link up into higher links, or if you just want to put additional attack power on your board and swing for game. Next up, we got the 2 ofs, which are 2 copies of Sky Striker Airspace Area 0. This card also does a lot because it acts basically almost like a 7th and an 8th starter card. If this card on the field is sent to your graveyard, you get to special summon a Sky Striker ace monster from your main deck onto your field. So, yeah, it does a lot. And not only that, but it also has this pot of duality effect where you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 Sky Striker card from the 3 you revealed to your hand, and shuffle the rest back in your deck. So yes, you're going to be seeing a lot of cards with this and be able to start a lot of different plays. Next up, we have 2 copies of Afterburner. You want to be able to have ways to deal with your opponent's monsters on board. Afterburner is the way. It's a targeting monster destruction effect, and if you have 3 or more spell cards in your graveyard, you can actually then pop 1 spell trap card that's on the field as well. So it does double duty, and it's really worth it. And last up for the Sky Striker spells, it's going to be Sky Striker, Mecha, Shark Cannon. Shark Cannon is an amazing card. You can banish a card out of your opponent's graveyard, especially if they're trying to special summon it, which is actually pretty good. Or if you have 3 more monsters in the field, you can actually just steal the card and use it to attack your opponents, or like to hire like monsters. All in all, it's just an amazing card, and since it's a quick effect card, yeah, it's just so good. Alright, so that's it pretty much for the Sky Strikers spells. We do have other spells in this deck. 2 copies of the recently reprinted Lightning Storm from King's Court. Just an amazing card. As long as you control no other face-up cards in the field, you can either go after your opponent's attack position monsters or after their back row. Very awesome card. Definitely worth having, especially since this deck is built a little bit more to go second. Alright, I'm also running 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. You need 3 copies primarily because of its interaction with Area Space Zero, but also because of the back row cards I've mentioned previously. Imperial Order as well as Anti-Spell Fragrance. You need to be able to chain something to the activation of those cards, otherwise those cards are just going to basically force you to scoop. So definitely worth it to have 3. You want to have those outs. Alright, next up I have 1 copy of Mystic Mine because it's Mystic Mine. Your opponent has more monsters on the field than you, they can't attack, they can't activate monster effects. You get the idea. I am running 2 copies of Pot of Desires. To me, in my experience with this card in this deck, this is more like of a turn 2 card after you were able to go through all your tutoring and searching for the materials you need. You want to be activating this card turn 2 or later to be able to dig deeper through your deck. Because 9 times out of 10 you are able to have the necessary materials you have in the hand off of your first turn just to be able to play. So yeah, only 2. And the other reason why we run 2 is basically because engages it back at 1. Searcher spells, terraforming, and reinforcement of army. You could potentially say that, hey, this is basically the 9th and 10th starter cards, but yeah, they do what they do. Can get you into Area Zero or Mystic Mine if necessary. Can get you any of your Skystriker Ace monsters out of your deck. So definitely all worthwhile cards. And last but not least, we got 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Again, going second, you want to be able to interfere with your opponent's board as much as possible, and Imperm just allows you to do it. Even if you have to set the card on the field, it can still cause problems by negating monsters, as well as any spell and trap cards that are in the same column as it. So, yeah, definitely very worthwhile. And that's it for the main deck. It's at 40 cards. Moving on to the extra deck. It's going to go pretty fast, but we got 3 copies of Hayate, the Wind Tribute, Skystriker Ace Monster. Basically, it can attack your opponent's life points directly, and whenever it battles your opponent, you get to send a spell card from your graveyard, from your deck to your graveyard, which is actually pretty awesome. Very useful, and then what you do is that on your main phase 2, you go into one of your 3 copies of Skystriker Ace Kagari, and hey, guess what? You're able to recycle the card you just sent. So if you don't open with Engage, you're pretty much using Hayate to basically get engaged into your graveyard and to rip back to your hand for your second main phase. Last but not least, we have 3 copies of Skystriker Ace Shizuku. Shizuku just allows you to be able to get an end phase search. She also powers down all your opponent's monsters by the number of spell cards that are in your graveyard, so that's actually pretty awesome. It's only by 100, but still, this deck can put a lot of spells in the graveyard pretty quickly, so you can get some pretty significant attack decreases. Okay, mentioned this with Raise effect. Kana, on summon, you're able to basically target one of your opponent's monsters and negate its effects for the turn. So that's actually not bad, and that's typically how she's used. So I only need 1 of her. And of course, you also have Skystriker Ace Zeke. Zeke can actually target one of your opponent's monsters and be able to banish it. So getting a problematic monster off the board, not that hard one in this deck. Okay. For the remainder of the cards, we have Crystal and Half-Fibrax. Since the majority of the hand traps are tuner monsters, just getting this card on the field with one of your Skystriker Ace monsters and one of the tuner monsters, pretty easy. You summon this card, it brings out Effect Veiler from the graveyard, and from there you're going to be able to link climb into your Selene. Selene on summon will gain spell counter based on the number of spell cards you have in the graveyard. And then you can just remove 3 to special summon your Effect Veiler back from the grave to be able to climb into pretty much the win con for the deck. Excuse me. Axis Kotalker. Very awesome. You're going to have a ton of different tribute monsters, of link monsters in the graveyard to really make use of his effect. You clear the field, you attack, boom. Pretty much game at that point. If you have any other Skystriker spell cards that can steal monsters, that's when you activate it after you special summon them. And of course, we also are running Nightmare Unicorn in case you have to be able to spin other cards off your opponent's field. That's just an additional way of being able to get problematic cards off the field as well. Guys, that is it for my updated Sky Striker deck for the July 2021 format. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you liked the video, give this video a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this on my channel, make sure to subscribe. Enable notifications so you don't miss any uploads. Check out the description box below. Find the invite link to my Discord server. Join the conversation. We'd love to have you. Follow me on social media. Check out the links for my affiliates, tccpodcast.com, as well as SideDiskVersus.com. And guys, until next time, peace.